Very interesting times we are in. Finally, Pam Bondi kind of does something. This is a start. I know that you're thinking, well, this is just we need something way bigger, but and we'll get it. You have to start little like this. Pam Bondi has issued a statement and also is filing a complaint, a formal complaint with Supreme Court justices saying that Boasberg is biased towards all Trump cases. A lot of these, by the way, the Boasberg guy kind of made up. Trump would have an executive order. Boasberg would come jumping in there. And a lot of these cases too, by the way, if you look at Boasberg's history when it comes to U.S. aid and other things that he was ruling against, was actually ruling in his favor because of some of the involvement his daughter has. Boasberg's daughter is involved in a bunch of U.S. aid stuff where she gets all this grants and everything. It has to do with keeping illegals in the United States and making sure people get out of prison really quickly so they can go back out and commit more crimes. And so when you look at the history of what Boasberg's actually ruling on, you could see that the bias exists for several reasons. Of course, now Boasberg's smart enough not to talk about that when he's talking to all of his colleagues. Boasberg actually is on record, off record, on record, but some of the Supreme Court justices and other ones have said that during some kind of like work breakfasts and meetings they've had, Boasberg has openly talked about up-and-coming litigations and lawsuits and also people involved with this. And he gives an opinion during these, telling these other justices this is what I think is going to happen, which means that you're not able to rule fairly on a case because you already have a predetermined outcome up here, which, humans tend to do that. It's to be a real judge, and it's very, very, very hard. I will say that because I would be in the back of my mind thinking if I didn't like somebody, then that would be a problem. And so at this point, you'd have to recuse yourself. This is the only righteous thing to do to any kind of legal case when you start to feel like there's a possibility that you don't like the person that you're working with or the cases that you're handling. That's going to affect your judgment severely, and so that means that you'll especially when it's your ruling that is in favor of what the actual outcome of the end result is. We don't have a jury there to make this decision. Yeah, you've got to really play ethics right there. And right now, this has not been a thing as far as anything that's been worried about because nobody's cared. It's just been a run-amok legal system because of Biden that was installed. You had other judges as well that were acting the same way. That one guy from New York, the really crazy-looking dude that kind of looked like one of the gremlins or something from that movie where that don't get water on him. What's that Ingrun guy? Yeah, you're going to see him in just a second. You got Boasberg and you got Ingram down here. These people. Let me dig at his nose. Anyways, Ingram was the pioneer in the being biased against Trump, which nothing happened to him. You can obviously see what was going on. And so that greenlit this behavior from other judges to operate under the same manner. They were going after Trump. Ingrid and Letitia James going after Trump over mortgage fraud. Mortgage fraud where the bank was paid back all their money. There were actual assessments of the property that were done before this bank loan was made out so that no parties would be damaged, because anytime you borrow a lot of money, if you want to go borrow money on an 85 GT Mustang, you want to borrow $3,000. So you can go buy some fireworks in South Carolina and get married while you're down there. All right. You have to at least show pictures or the guy who's going to loan you the money, your little local finance guy is going to come out there and look at the car. You just can't hand him a title to an 85 GT Mustang because it might even have a hood on it. So this guy's going to come out and look at the car and say, okay, yes, I can work with that. I'll loan you $3,000 on your 85 GT Mustang until the second gears wore out in the Tremec 5-speed, whatever. Here's $3,000. Now I want, and you, of course, you pay interest back. You pay it back. You get your title back. Everything's good. So, imagine that on a larger scale in a bank. But so now we're at this point where these rogue justices have been just going crazy as all get out. So I think that right now we're going to probably see a turn of the tide. Just the fact that the complaint's been filed doesn't sound like a lot, but there's movement in the water, and we're going to hope for the best. We're going to try to get these wins out as much as possible, and then maybe this will help line up some of these activist judges and say, all right, let's start acting normal again, or better, let's just step back. Let the man do his executive orders. You can undo them later. Whatever. Just do whatever right now, because Trump has the right to do that. You can't rule from the bench. Thank you, guys. Peace out. Very interesting times we are in.